Humans learn by making mistakes. God designed us so when a baby learns to walk, baby crawls, stands up and falls, then finally takes the first step, and the next thing running, then flying. But what our schools do, when a child falls, they punish them. You're stupid. You make mistakes. Smart people don't make mistakes. When I look at the way humans were designed to learn, we're designed to learn from mistakes. So that's why you play golf. I'm sure Tiger Woods has hit more bad shots than me. He's failed more than me. So when you look at the real reality of the world, the biggest failures are the most successful. Like Steve Jobs, Reed College, Gates dropped out of Harvard, Michael Dell at the University of Texas, but they failed their way to success. What our academics say, that's greedy, they're capitalists. Don't make mistakes and do as I tell you, and don't question anything I say. That's called tyranny.
Need motivation?
Watch a top 10 of Believe Nation.
Hey, it's Evan Carmichael, and I make these videos because you are probably the most ambitious person in your circle, but you know you're capable of more, and you get that push by surrounding yourself with the best. So today, let's learn from one of the best, Robert Kiyosaki, and my take on his top 10 was a success. Enjoy. Rule number 2, chase real wealth.
That was one of the biggest wake-up calls of my life, is that the reason between rich people and poor people is they don't know real money from fake money. My mom and dad didn't. Good people, but they don't know that. So they spent it. And so today, I have millions and millions and millions in gold and silver, and I also use debt. I don't use money. And guys like Dave Ramsey say live debt-free. And for 99% of the people, that's good advice. Mm-hmm. But if you're going to be really rich, you have to learn how to use debt as money. But to do that, you got to be a lot smarter than some hodler, chasing Ethereum and all the other stuff. Okay? So that's what real financial education. I don't have an answer. I don't know what's going to happen in the future. Could my Bitcoin go to zero? Yes. But gold and silver have been here since the earth was formed. It's been gold, it's been money for about 12,000 years. Bitcoin has been money for 10. Now, does that mean I don't buy Bitcoin? No, I still will buy it, but I'll buy it because it's liquid. I can get out of it if I made a mistake.
Rule number 3, study money.
If you understand how money is created, money is credit and debt. That's all it is. Credit, debt, and taxes. That's what money really is. Mm-hmm. But they don't teach you that in school. So today, the reason the world economy is crashing goes all the way back to 71. But what happened in 71, they could just make fake money, and they can keep printing fake money. And this is the US dollar. The US can keep printing fake money for a number of years yet. Mm-hmm. And the only way they could keep the economy expanding, they had to find people stupid enough to get into debt. So as you know, one of the most, I didn't have this as a kid. It's called a credit card. Now, everybody has credit cards, but they never teach you how to use it. Yeah. Now, why did they have a credit card? It's because they needed more money. So they keep expanding the economy. They keep finding people stupid enough to just get into debt. They give them credit cards and all this and say, well, he gives auto loans. But I think the most dastardly thing for your generation was in 2009 when President Obama went to the banks and said, look, we need to get the students more into debt under the guise of you need to get a good education.
Rule number 4, be tough.
That's why I keep saying to the millennials, they're a pack of wimps. I meet millennials who are just horrifyingly weak. Snowflakes, I call them. Yeah. They go to college and
doormats.
They're taught trigger events or whatever. I don't know what they say today, but they've got to have special rooms where there's no whatever. I'm going, holy mackerel. Welcome to the real world, And there's other millennials who are as tough as nails. This is the biggest opportunity they've ever had.
Huge.
So it just depends upon what's between this here and this here, what's in your heart.
Also, to make sure you're actually taking action after watching this video, I've designed a special free worksheet just for this video. The worksheet will highlight all of the lessons learned in this video, as well as pull out our 3 favorite learnings and quotes that will inspire you to actually do something. The worksheet will also give you space to write down what your key takeaways are and your specific plan of action to make sure you're getting results. If you want the worksheet designed specifically for this video, absolutely for free, there's a link in the description below. Go click on it and start building the momentum in your life and your business. I'll see you there. Rule number 5, improve your financial literacy.
And that's what happens if you have no basic financial education. Whether you're old or young, if you're stupid, you're stupid. I mean, just don't worry about it. The market will take care of you. And the difference is that in my generation, it was real estate. So I took real estate courses. I've never lost money in real estate. I've made fortunes in it. Do you know? I'm an insider because I do all I don't touch REITs, REITs, real estate investment. I don't trust paper. I handle my own. I've started my own gold mine in China. Fortunately, the Chinese took it. That was a lesson. And I started my own silver mine in Argentina. So I understand mining. So all of these guys, my friends who are in crypto, now tell me they expect about 15,000 new ICOs. So this, basically all it takes is a brain and some electricity and a computer, and you can create your own crypto. So could Bitcoin be toast also? Possibly. So when I told this guy I bought Bitcoin when it dropped from 65 to 50, he says it's going to go to $5. I said, it might. The difference is I can afford to lose that money. But that's called, I'm speculating. So this is, in my world as a professional investor, I'm in the acquisition phase. I'm taking a position. I've taken a position in Bitcoin and Ethereum. Every time it looks like it's getting a little cheaper, I'll buy it. I'll buy it. I'll buy it. So I saw Bitcoin at 20,000, I think it was, and it dropped to 7, and I waited, and when it came to 9, I bought. So today, let's say it's 50. I'm still in the money. And if it goes to 40, I'm going to buy more. Now, could I be wrong? Absolutely. Could some hodler coin take off? Yeah. Could there be another pets.com of crypto? Absolutely. But the difference is I'm in the acquisition. I've taken a position. I took a position in silver and gold. I have millions, not in this country. But I don't have any paper. I don't have any ETFs. I only take the real stuff. Because as I said, the Perth Mint can't deliver on silver. If a mint can't deliver on silver, who do you trust? And so with all of these young kids coming up going to invent the next Bitcoin, I don't doubt they will. I don't doubt one of those 10,000 new crypto may blow Bitcoin and Ethereum out of the water. And if that happens, I'll make my switch. But until then, I'm like I was with gold and silver. I'm in acquisition. I've taken a position. When I sell, it's called distribution. So as a professional, not a speculator, and I don't flip houses because I think that's really stupid because it's such high risk to flip a house. But today, everybody's flipping houses because the price of real estate is going through the roof. I was talking to the guy who cuts my hair. He says, I finally bought a house. I offered $100,000 over the price. I'm going, holy moly. It's a mania. There's booms, bust, and mania. Real estate is in a mania because of this. Because interest rates are so low, so not only are stocks going up, real estate's going up. And everybody's jumping in. When this happens, the idiots jump in. Mm-hmm. And that's what's happening right now. So Bitcoin is the same way. So when it took a dip, I bought more. Can it go lower? Yes, I'll buy more. But there's one big difference between Bitcoin and Ethereum and real estate. Bitcoin and Ethereum are liquid. Means I can get out. If I realize that there's a new NFC, what do they call them, or a new guy's going to take out Bitcoin, I can get out. But with real estate, the trouble with real estate, if it goes down, you're the skipper of the Titanic. You're going to ride that baby all the way down. So real estate is not liquid. At least stocks are liquid. But that poor bus driver dropped from liquid stocks into liquid bonds. He's got no place to go. So when I talk to him about possibly gold, silver, or crypto, no! He's an old guy, He's an old guy. So they're all related. So in this world of money, they're all related. It's like we're all related somehow on this whole planet. And so that's the world of money today. So that's real financial education. If you realize you cannot make a prediction, especially today, because nobody knows what's going to happen until it happens. The question is, are you prepared for when it happens? So I love Bitcoin because if I realize there's a hot new coin coming along, I can get out. But in real estate, I'm stuck in it. So those are some of the differences between investors, acquisition, taking a position, and distribution. I can distribute my Bitcoin and gold and silver quickly. I cannot distribute my real estate that quickly or my businesses. So those are some of the differences, and that's real financial education.
Rule number 6, serve people.
First word I had to learn at the academy, mission. Mission is spiritual. What's your mission? And my mission has always been to serve people. Most people, all they give a is making money and screwing people. That's called the Federal Reserve Bank, Wall Street, and all that. I want nothing to do with them. So I just don't play their game. But you have to get smarter not to play their game.
Rule number 7, take advantage of technology.
The thing I've said before, and I'll say it again because some people need to hear it. Your generation, this thing called my cell phone, didn't come out until 2007.
Yeah.
The millennial generation was given the most powerful single tool ever given to any generation. And what are you guys using this thing for? To Twitter, to social? I don't know what you guys do with this thing, but I love this thing. I mean, I'm on YouTube constantly. I find the best teachers in the world out there. I mean, I don't know why anybody would go to college because the best teachers are on YouTube for free. Mm-hmm. I learned, and it's not that the teacher is the best. The thing I love about YouTube is I can get one person says X and the guy that says no, that's Y. And so I'll listen to both sides. But that's where your intelligence grows because both sides have a point of view. And I listen to both sides. But if you're in college, you got to listen to one idiot who's boring, And I really did not like school, you can tell.
Yeah.
First of all, is I didn't want to become an employee. Every time the teacher says, go to school and get a job. And I said, but I don't want a job. And it didn't make sense to me because I had a rich dad. My poor dad was an employee. He was a good one. But personally, I didn't want to become an employee. But your generation now must. That's the difference.
Yeah.
You must. You don't have that option.
Rule number 8, look for real knowledge.
A lot of people say, well, how come my kid's kicking my butt? I said, because they don't have brakes put on yet. Kids just make mistakes. Parents still have what they were programmed to think. Don't make mistakes. Make sure everything, they're slower. Kids are faster. And so they learn faster. So I learned, when I was 10, my rich dad started teaching me about entrepreneurship and investing with the game of Monopoly. And, so I'm sitting there, and my poor dad, the academic, is going, what you doing? I said, I played Monopoly. And he says, well, that's a waste of time. Go back and study. And so he says, well, ask your friend's father, Rich Dad, why are you studying Monopoly? And so I asked Rich Dad, I said, why are we studying Monopoly? He says, because one of the greatest formulas of wealth is found in this game board, idiot. I said, what is it? I'm 10 years old going like this. 4 greenhouses, 1031 tax-deferred exchange into a red hotel. And so I'm a kid going, and my old man, the PhD from Stanford and all this stuff, and he's broke. He's broke. And Rich Dad goes from his little dinky little store, and now the property he owns is called the Hyatt Regency on Waikiki Beach. So he followed the 4 greenhouses, 1 red hotel. And again, the greatest educator of our times could have been Maria Montessori, who said, what the hand does, the mind remembers. So my rich dad, for my education, he says, you want a real education, kid? I go, of course. So he owned, my father poor dad called them slums. My rich dad says, I'm a low-income housing provider. It's just definitions. He says, go knock on doors and collect rent. I went, what? So that's why everybody wants to invest in real estate, but they don't want to collect rent or fix the toilet. You know what I mean? So I'm 10 to 12. your rent is due. And I heard more bullshit than I've ever heard in my entire life. These are grown adults going, hey, kid, beat it. Or, I don't have money. It's you sons of a bitches, you capitalist. I'm 10 years old. So we can't afford it. They got big screen TV in the room. They're watching TV. But they can't pay the rent. And they have kids. What are they teaching their kids? Knocking on doors, asking grown-ups for overdue rent. Fried my brains. Said, I don't want to be like you.
Rule number 9, choose your teachers wisely.
I find the best teachers on YouTube. They're not, they teach because they want to teach, but some of them are crooks too. Well, you got to know the difference. And so I think YouTube is fantastic, and I'm on YouTube constantly. So you saw me take off my headsets and all this. I go to sleep with YouTube on, but I choose my teachers wisely.
So who are some good teachers people can watch?
I listen to guys who hate each other. This may sound strange, but Peter Schiff hates Bitcoin. He's a good friend of mine. He's a gold guy. Then I listen to Michael Saylor and all these other guys who are Bitcoin guys. And so I just listen to the 2 points of view, because in between there is something I can take away. Mm-hmm. But I don't listen to just one side. That's why I said when I was in 9/11 or 9/13, I was in Istanbul talking to Muslims. I said, I want to find out about your religion. Because I was told what I was told as a Marine. Mm-hmm. The Crusades and other infidels and all this crap that we're taught as Marines also. And I said, you guys are good people. They're good people.
And rule number 10, the last one before some very special bonus clips, is aim for passive income.
So if I was teaching a bunch of high school kids, I said, when you leave school here today, the big question in your mind is, what kind of income do I want for the rest of my life? Well, I wanted passive. Mm-hmm. And the average person, because they have a job, is working for earned income, which is the highest tax. You get tired working for that. So when you look at, again, the Rich Dad financial statement here, income, expense, assets, and liabilities. Okay, so earned income is this here. That's earned. Okay. When you work for, and then the problem with that income is tax. Then if you're working for portfolio income, you're generally working for this. You buy a stock for, let's say, Apple for $10, mm-hmm. and it goes to $50, and you sell it. The trouble with that, again, is tax. Mm-hmm. But if you're working for passive income, which your mom and dad work for, this is passive income here. Okay, it's cash flow, it's also called. So that's why I have the cash flow board game pictured here. So all I wanted was passive income. So what I have today is I have about 7,000 rental properties. I have hotels, golf courses, oil, and all this. But again, it goes back to these 3 types of income: earned, portfolio, and passive. So if I was talking to a bunch of high school kids, or even elementary school kids, it's not that hard.
Yeah.
But I'm glad you asked the question, because I think a lot of the young people can think now, say, well, why am I in school? Mm-hmm. I don't know. If you just want to work hard and pay taxes on earned income and flip real estate or flip houses, then you're working for portfolio.
Yeah.
I don't flip.
Yeah.
That's a very big difference.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like to buy low and sell high. That's flipping. That's called capital gains. Mm-hmm. Which is portfolio. I vote for cash flow, which is passive. Mm-hmm. And I can turn capital gains into passive. I mean, it gets crazier and crazier and crazier from there on, but I'm glad you asked the question. The difference is when I left my high pay, so I got a job with Xerox. So that's the last job I ever had. So when you look at the cash flow quadrant here, ESBI, here I was, okay? And I was making a lot of money at Xerox.
Yeah.
I went to Xerox for one thing, not the money. I worked at Xerox because I had to learn how to sell. Mm-hmm. because entrepreneurs have to learn how to sell. So I was preparing for this quadrant here,
Yeah.
but I was really preparing for the big business quadrant. So I took a job at Xerox for 4 years. So I was preparing for these two quadrants here. So when I talk to young people like you're here in social media,
Yeah.
you're learning the same thing I was learning at Xerox, except you're learning technology-wise.
Yeah.
It's very smart.
100%. That's exactly
Right.
what I'm doing here.
Yeah.
And one thing I actually really do appreciate when I worked at the bank was that we were very sales orientated, and that's all that mattered. And I think that's where I got a lot of my sales skills too from.
Correct.
Like
Talking
it
to
was
people.
learning how to get rejected and finding a way to not get rejected next time.
Good. So the lesson to young people is don't take a job for the money, take a job for what you're learning.
Yeah.
And the harder, it was really hard because I didn't like, I'm actually a very shy person. So learning how to sell was the hardest thing I could do. But if I hadn't spent 4 years learning how to sell, I never made it here, I never made it here.
So the entire time that you were here, you were preparing to jump to the other quadrant.
Correct. So every job is not so much for the high-paying job with job security.
Yeah.
For not everybody. Most people should have job security because they're not designed to be entrepreneurs. But if you're going to be an entrepreneur, then you better take this job and say, well, which way am I going to go?
Yeah.
So I knew my job at Xerox was to go here and here and here,
Yeah.
not stay here. And I actually make so much money over here that I don't need job security, I need the money. So really that's the lesson. When you look at a job, you look at what can I learn more than how much can I make. And I think that's the biggest challenge. And if you look for a job where you can learn a lot, the harder the job, the better it is.
Yeah.
Do you know?
Yeah.
And the sad thing today is there's guys my age, old guys, who should be retired, but they can't afford to retire. So they're going back looking for a job. Last night I was talking to this Vietnamese guy. He lost his job with a telecom company. He was a computer programmer. So the saddest thing, and this guy I meet, nice guy, probably a few years younger than me, he's now working 3 jobs because in his head, he was a high-paid executive with a telecom company, and he lost his job. The company's out of business. I won't mention his name.
Yeah.
But he still has go to school, get a job. It's still running his head here, rather than say, what can I learn? And today, it's really sad. I was having coffee yesterday, and this guy comes up to me. He's about my age. He says, can I come to your company and apply for a job? I said, man, you're as old as I am. But he says, I just don't want any problems. I just want the paycheck. The big thing about risk here is this. In school, they compensate for risk by telling you to memorize the right answer. So in other words, these kids young people like you, leave school thinking, oh, if I know the right answers, then there's no risk. And it drives old guys like me crazy. Because everybody's talking about millennials. What's wrong with them? Millennials are in many ways, the most highly educated generation in history. They have the cell phone. They didn't get educated in school. They got educated on social media, on the cell phones. They know all the answers, but they're afraid of doing anything.
Yeah.
The biggest complaint about my generation is millennials know all the answers, but they can't do anything. And the reason they can't do anything is because you might hurt somebody's feelings, you might make a mistake, and that just keeps you guys just trapped in this little box here.
Yeah.
So that's one of the reasons I think millennial money is such an important point here, because if you're going to come into my world, old guy's world, or the information age, you've really got to understand what is risky and what is not risky. And in my world, if you play it safe, that makes you stupid. Because if you don't take risks, you don't get smarter.
Yeah.
So you may know the answer, but you can't do anything.
Yeah.
And one of the best things I had is I went to military school, then I went to flight school. I had such great teachers, All of them could fly. So my flight instructor could fly. What a novel idea. A flight instructor can fly. But when I was in high school, most of my teachers were terrified. They're all cowards, job security. Don't make mistakes. Just memorize the right answer and you'll be safe. And that's why most school teachers aren't rich.
Yeah.
And they teach that to your generation today.
Yeah. And most of them are teaching us things that they don't do on a daily basis. Like we have entrepreneurship classes.
Oh!
And they're
Don't get me
not
started.
entrepreneurs, So it's kind of frightening when you think we're relying on the school system.
Oh.
And the fact that they're teaching us, so the way to get through college, right, is practicing all the right answers, taking the exam, putting in all the right answers.
Yeah.
When in real life, that's the last thing that'll ever happen, right?
No. Like, he talk about fake, this is my book, Fake here. Fake money, fake teachers, fake assets. The reason it's fake money, fake teachers, and fake assets is because it all has to be fake. You have to have fake teachers to understand fake money. Then you have to have fake assets to buy those stocks, bonds, and mutual funds, fake assets. But without fake teachers, fake money, you can't do it. So that's why I love working with on these programs here. Because if you're going to be successful, you've got to take some risk.
Yeah.
And when you take a risk, you make a mistake, and you might learn something, because we're supposed to learn from our mistakes. Look at Tiger Woods, the greatest golfer in the world, and one of the greatest athletes. He's made a lot of mistakes. He would not be a great golfer sitting in a room listening to a teacher who never played golf tell Tiger how to be a golfer. And so, but Tiger, remember, don't take any risk. Don't pick up that putter. Don't pick up that driver. Don't hit something because you might go out of bounds. So don't take any risks. And that's why your generation is more screwed than my generation. You know what I mean?
And in class, we look up to the person that knows all the right answers. So really, it's just this mentality of having to be perfect and have this perfect intelligence.
And know all the right
and
answers.
know all the right answers, when that's the person that'll probably be the least successful in life, because they're not willing to make these mistakes.
So let me say this again. Education is more important than before, but you got to be careful what you're learning. That's why I wrote the book, Fake Money, Fake Teachers, and Fake Assets. Don't listen to fake teachers. Yeah, I have a friend. He teaches entrepreneurship at UC Santa Barbara. And I call him up and I say, how in the world can you teach entrepreneurship? He says, well, I have a master's degree. I said, I ask the question again. What gives you the right to teach your entrepreneurship? He says, I have a master's degree in entrepreneurship. And I say, hey, Doug, you and I have been friends for a long time. You've never started a business. You're a fake teacher. He goes, but I have all the answers. I said, yeah, but you don't know how to start a business. So that's why I do, again, what I do. Education is more important than before, but be careful. There's fake money, fake teachers, and fake assets in the world. Like some of the biggest fake teachers are those financial planners. They're telling you to save money. Why would you save money when the government's printing money? Then they tell you to invest for the long term in the stock market. And you guys know the stock market is ultra short term. There's high frequency trading. Today, long term is a split second. But they're telling you, guys like my generation, to keep your money in the stock market for 40 years and you have nothing left at the end of it. Then they tell you to save money. I go, what the heck's wrong with this? As you know, we learn little to nothing in school, but in fact, you'll find out that going to school actually diminishes your ability to get rich. So that goes counter to what everybody tells you. You go to school, get a job, and you'll make money. And that worked probably 1,000 years ago. Not working today. It didn't work for me. I mean, I have a college degree, but I learned nothing about money. And what I've learned, I had to learn on my own from my rich dad. So we're going to be talking about school, making mistakes, and we're going to talk to you about cheating. Okay?
My favorite.
Yes, subject. Okay, so in school, what do you have to do to cheat?
I'd say finding a smart person in class and looking at their paper.
You see, when I was in school, the definition of cheating was I asked a smart girl like you. And that's how I got through school. I always sat next to the smartest girl in my class. And the teachers kept throwing me out because they said, you're cheating. But I'd go to my rich dad, and he goes, that's not cheating, that's cooperation. And so I had my poor dad who would have said I was cheating, and my rich dad said I was cooperating.
So there are two different points of view. Now there's this brand new book out. I'm having everybody in the company read it. It's called Big Potential. And it's by Sean Acor. Now he's not a flunky like me. He was 12 years at Harvard as a teacher and all this stuff there. And he studied all these students. And he's the one that found out that the age of suicide is going down. Kids are committing suicide at a younger age. And depression went from age 28 to 14. And he said the reason is because how we teach kids. So all you school teachers out there, don't read this book because you're going to find out you're damaging kids. But worse than all, it's making it harder to get rich. Because what he talks about here in this is in school, they talk to you about the survival of the fittest, the A student. Were you an A student?
No.
I was not an A student either. I was a C student. And I found out that by cheating, I was actually preparing myself to do well in business. Most successful entrepreneurs have gone bust, right? Yeah. You know, Henry Ford, an old-time entrepreneur, he went bust 5 times. Okay, look at Steve Jobs.
Yep.
His own board fired him.
Yep.
You know, Bill Gates was taken before the Supreme Court for monopolistic practices.
Right.
Even my friend Donald Trump went down $1 billion.
Yeah.
I only went down $1 million. So the average person is so afraid of those losses, they never get ahead. Because at school they teach you if you make a mistake or if you fail, you're a failure. But that's not real life. A baby learns to walk by standing up and falling down, standing up and falling down. And our school system punishes you for making mistakes. That's why my poor dad, an academic, was so unsuccessful. He was terrified of making mistakes. There's 3 kinds of money today that you guys got to be aware of. One is God's money, and God's money is gold and silver. So this is silver, and this is gold. The reason I brought it is most people don't know what it looks like. And then there's government money, which is fiat currency, which is the dollar, the yen, the peso, the euro, the yuan.
Yeah.
Fake. And everybody's working hard for it. It's like eating fake food or drinking fake water. That's why people are getting sick financially, because they're working for fake money.
Yeah.
Okay. And then there's fake assets, which was another part of the fake millennial, the fake generation series. But the reason I brought this here is most people haven't seen it. This here is real silver, plata. Okay. That's what it looks like. And so in 1972, and this here is gold.
Yeah.
This is God's money. This is what God's money looks like.
Yeah.
The reason I call it God's money is you can't fake it. You know, you can fake it with a fake ETF, like a gold ETF or a silver, which I don't touch because it smells as bad as the guys that printed that crap. You know what I mean? Jesus. But this is real money. So you look at this here. When I first started buying that, that was $1.40.
Yeah.
Today, that's $16. And this here is oro, gold. And the reason we brought it in is most people haven't seen or touched. This is real. This is God's money.
Yeah.
Why did I say it's God's money? Because it was here when the earth was created.
Yeah.
And it'll be here when we're all dead and gone. When you're saving those fake dollars, this will still be here.
Yeah.
Or those fake ETFs or those fake stocks. The irony is, you know, when I left school in the 60s, there was plenty of jobs. But the world has changed.
Yeah.
And our schools haven't. And so they're still making this innate promise of get a job. And I was very fortunate when I graduated in '69. We're the highest paid graduates in the world. My classmates were making about $120,000 to $150,000 a year. That's not much money today. But 1969, that was a lot of money. But naturally, as young guys do, we spent every penny of it.
Yeah.
So I had my rich dad's lesson, the rich don't work for money, in my head. I said, okay, I'm making all this money. I have a secure job, but what's beyond that? And that's where education comes in. So if I could explain this to you for the rest of the millennial lessons, it's really going to be on this theme here. Because financial education is about not working for money. Like one of the first questions, when I finally realized what my rich dad was saying, I said, well, when do I never need a paycheck again? See, my goal wasn't, you know, go to the moon or
cure cancer. My job was, when would I never need a paycheck again? Because as long as you need a paycheck, be it from an employer or like my poor dad, he was so afraid of losing his government pension.
Yeah.
And I'm going, Jesus, what a way to run your life. Your pension? So my old man kind of got fired. He lost his pension. It was the most frightening thing in the world to him. He had no pension. Then it was Social Security, which is even worse.
Yeah.
So that's why my goal when I was about your age, a little older, around 25, I said, my goal is to never need a paycheck again from anybody, even the government. I don't want any Medicare, Social Security, or whatever. When I was a military pilot, I said, oh, you got to get the military pilot pension. I said, you do, but I'm not going to. And just because of this here, that was the difference. Because I never wanted to work for money to need a paycheck. So the next few lessons in Millennial Money, you'll find out what I do work for. So for right now, just let me go to the lesson here. So this comes from Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and these are some of the distinctions. It was the advantage I had at age 9, because I knew what I wanted to work for. And this here, in simple terms, is called a financial statement. In school, they teach you to get a FICO score. FICO is BS. All it means, how good are you paying your bills? That's all FICO means, okay? Should be the FIDO score. Good dog. So this is what your banker wants to see. So when I was 9 years old, playing Monopoly with my rich dad, this is the lesson that's not included in Monopoly, but Rich Dad taught me. And fundamentally, the problem that most people make, they go to school to get a job, and they work here. So this is the poor, middle class, and these guys. And we're going to talk about later, your first line item expense is taxes. Just recently, President Trump said he had a tax cut. He didn't have a tax cut for these guys. As you know, the rules are always written for the rich, okay? I didn't make the rules. You can get angry at me, but these are the rules. The rich make the rules, the golden rule. He who has the gold makes the rules.
Yeah.
So the tax cut went to people here. That's where it goes to. You'll learn more about this later on. But this is what I work for. So what I work for, number one, is I'm an entrepreneur. I want businesses. I have multiple businesses. And I don't work in them, as you know, because you work here. You never see me, do you?
No.
Because I don't work for a paycheck.
Exactly.
Next is real estate. And real estate is good for many things which we'll go into, but number one is debt. I use a lot of debt to buy real estate, and I pay no taxes. That's the relationship there. The next is paper. And that's savings, stocks, bonds, mutual funds, ETFs, and that stuff. I don't have any of that stuff. I don't save money. I don't have any of that. But this is what most people have, go to school, get a job, get a 401k, and save money. Loser. Okay? I'm doing that just to upset you guys, because maybe you'll start to think. Because I didn't make the rules. I'm just telling you these are the rules. These people pay the highest taxes, and they work the hardest. And the last are commodities, 4 different asset classes. So commodities are, number one is gold, silver, oil, land, water, food. So this is what I work for. When I left school, rather than working for a paycheck and working for money, my education had to go beyond getting a job, which I had a good job. But I now had to start, when I left school, about your age, the thing I focused on first actually was commodities. So back in 1972, I started buying gold. And it was illegal for Americans to own gold. Can you imagine that? Wow. Back in 72. Today you have Bitcoin. It's different, okay? Everything is changing so rapidly today. So I started with gold, but actually the next thing was actually oil, because I went to school to be a tanker officer driving ships for Standard Oil. So I understand oil. So my wife and I don't own Standard Oil or Chevron or Exxon. we own oil wells. Again, taxes. You get no tax breaks for owning paper oil, huge tax breaks for owning real oil. And then I went into real estate. Why? Because I can use debt to buy real estate. And because I use debt, I pay no taxes. And then third, I started my business, my first real business. I had many businesses as a kid, but my first real business was a nylon and Velcro surfer wallet business. And I went worldwide right away. The trouble is I was an idiot, and the business went up, and the business came down. What kept me alive was this and this. Okay. So you may say, well, aren't you working for money? But we'll go into that next. I don't want what's called a paycheck. I want cash flow. From here. So that's what I mean by the rich don't work for money. You want cash flow that pays very little taxes, and I can use lots of debt over here. The average person who went to school, their biggest liability they have is student loans, of course.
Yeah, of course, definitely.
I mean, it's horrible what they do to you guys today. You have student loan, which is the worst type of debt of all because you cannot declare bankruptcy on it. And then you get out and you try and buy a house, and you call it an asset when it's really a liability. Why? Because the cash is flowing that way. Your house costs you money you rent a house, still costs you money. Okay? Then you have to have a nice car. I had one of those. This. So the problem with most young people is they go to school to get that job, then a lot of them have student loan debt, then they try and get married and buy a house, have a car, and then they have credit card debt, but they never have the chance to come over here. If they do any investing in America, it's a 401k, which I wouldn't touch with a 10-foot pole. Now, you should, but I don't, because I don't have to. Because I went to school for here, and people who don't go to school should be here. This is a 401k, IRA, ETFs, and that stuff, paper, savings. I don't touch that stuff, and we'll go into that later on. Yeah. Okay. So when I say rich don't work for money, I never wanted to be dependent on a paycheck, either from an employer or the government. I wanted to be a free human being. A lot of your generation are saying tax the rich. As they say, never happened, Joe. Because the tax laws need the rich to do what the government wants done. They're incentives. I provide housing, jobs, and food and energy. Mm-hmm. So that's what they should be teaching, but our schools will never teach that because they're fake teachers. Anything else? So that's kind of a review of Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
Yeah, thank God you gave that. I mean, even when you were talking about jobs, it's like, well, yeah, none of us would be here if it wasn't for you creating this company. Yeah. And so it's kind of curious as to why the government wouldn't want us to be creating more houses, more companies. Why aren't they making us learn this in school?
Well, because it's fake education. Mm-hmm. It's fake teachers. It's been going on for hundreds of years. And like I said, when the rich took over, there was Rockefellers, Carnegie, Mellon, and they said, they said, we don't need more entrepreneurs. We need more employees. So the purpose of American education is to create soldiers and employees, people who just do as they're told, but know nothing about money. Millennials are the most highly educated generation in history. They have the cell phone. They didn't get educated in school. They got educated on social media, on the cell phones. They know all the answers, but they're afraid of doing anything. Yeah. The biggest complaint about my generation is millennials know all the answers, but they can't do anything. Mm-hmm. And the reason they can't do anything is because you might hurt somebody's feelings, you might make a mistake, and that just keeps you guys just trapped in this little box here. Yeah. So that's one of the reasons I think millennial money is such an important point here, because if you're going to come into my world, old guy's world, or the information age, you've really got to understand what is risky and what is not risky. And in my world, if you play it safe, that makes you stupid. Because if you don't take risks, you don't get smarter. Yeah. So you may know the answer, but you can't do anything.
Yeah.
And one of the best things I had is I went to military school, then I went to flight school. I had such great teachers, All of them could fly. So my flight instructor could fly. What a novel idea. A flight instructor can fly. But when I was in high school, most of my teachers were terrified. They're all cowards, job security. Don't make mistakes. Just memorize the right answer and you'll be safe. And that's why most school teachers aren't rich.
Yeah.
And they teach that to your generation
Yeah.
today.
Real estate is a very important asset class. So a lot of people think, well, I have stocks, I have bonds, I have mutual funds, but they're just assets. But real estate is, to me, the single most important asset class to study, especially today, since I just was watching CNBC, Bubble Vision, and they finally acknowledged that Zillow has a 7,000 property problem because they flip property. And naturally, I tax, and I don't flip property. I hold property forever. I collect rent forever, and I pay no taxes. So if you like paying taxes, then, don't invest in real estate. If you like paying taxes, have a 401k, biggest ripoff I've ever seen. But so that's why real estate as an asset class in the macro picture globally is the single most important subject, but also the most complex. And the reason it's complex is if you buy, let's say, Apple stock, and you make a mistake, you say you buy Apple at Tesla at $1,000 or something. You buy Tesla at $1,000 and it starts to crash, you can get out tonight. You can get out immediately. But you buy a piece of real estate, you can't get out. So in financial literacy, which most school teachers have no idea what that means, the word is called liquidity. And the reason real estate needs to be studied more than any other subject, other than entrepreneurship, is liquidity. You start a business, you can't get out if you make a mistake. If you buy a piece of real estate, you can't get out.
I saw this whole thing as, should you be an entrepreneur? Well, a lot has to do with what your family said about it. My poor dad always said the rich were crooks. Entrepreneurs were crooks. The rich were greedy. School, all you had to do was have a college degree, you were set. Different cultures.
Yeah.
And I had to go against all that, especially respecting the father.
What should you do? Are you saying get out of equities, get out of your positions, stay in cash and keep that cash on the sideline to take advantage of the crash? What are you saying that an investor who's watching Kitco, who's watching these other channels, who's watching your channel, should potentially do in order to best protect their portfolio?
Well, that's a great question, because the only reason you'd be worried, it really goes back to what did you buy?
Yeah.
Remember, your profit is made when you buy, not when you sell. So I remember in 2000, gold went down to like 300 or something like this. I thought I died and went to heaven. I just backed up the truck. So when Bitcoin went to, let's say, 20,000, I was going, well, that's kind of interesting. So when it backed down to 3, then rebounded to 6, I picked it up at 6, and it's 41 today. So your profits are made when you buy, not when you sell. So if you're worried about your position, you probably bought too high. Who wants to live below their means? I want to live the best life I can possibly live. So I talk about this often. I use liability. If I want to buy a new Ferrari, I first buy an asset, and the asset pays for the Ferrari. I wanted a Rolls Royce. Why? Because I never had a Rolls Royce. I've had Bentleys. So I built an asset, and the asset then bought my Rolls Royce. Now I'm kind of bored with cars. So I don't have a guilty thing, is that I have financial education, which is what the Rich Dad Company teaches. And you can have the same thing too. You just have to stop listening to those school teachers who are poor. Most school teachers, like my poor dad, very good people, but they're so terrified of making mistakes. They want a steady paycheck, and they want a guaranteed pension. I don't think you can get rich from that point of view. Look at this chart here. It's called the cash flow quadrant. E and S, employee and self-employed. That was my poor dad. These guys work for money. These guys are not capitalists. They work for money and they invest their own money. On the B and the I side is my rich dad side. That's the capitalist side. Capitalists use other people's labor and other people's money to get rich. Which side do you want to be on? I'd rather be on the capitalist side. So that's the only difference. It's a whole shift of mindset and education.
But everybody can do it if you want to do it.
I would say the most important thing at this juncture in history in 2022 is get smarter. Listen to real teachers. You know, that was the choice I had to make at the age of 9. Do I listen to my poor dad who was a PhD, or to listen to my rich dad? That's a tough decision for a 9-year-old kid. But when I came back from Vietnam, I flew for the Marine Corps. My poor dad said to go back to school and get my PhD. And I said, I can't do that. And I became an entrepreneur instead. So I never needed a job again. That was the difference. I was a free human being. I'm sitting in Sunday school at 7, and the Sunday school teacher says, "Hey, why were the 3 wise men wise?" And I said, "Because they were rich." She said, why do you think the wise men were rich? I said, "Well, they had gold, frankincense, and myrrh." She says, "That's not the reason they were rich." I said, "What's the reason?" And I never forgot her reason. She says, "They always sought the best teacher." And I'm not religious, but they were seeking Jesus Christ. Mm-hmm. So in times of trouble, always seek the best teachers.
Let me draw this picture. You guys have seen it before. But again, if you look at it this way, this is intelligences. And this is what makes us up. This makes us human beings. We have mental intelligence. Mm-hmm. We have physical intelligence. You know, like Tiger Woods is a fantastic golfer. I suck, you know. And then you have emotional intelligence. And emotional intelligence, they call it EQ, is the most important. Because I get my feelings hurt all the time. I get angry. I hallucinate in my head. You know, I think things that aren't true. But the biggest one of all is the spiritual. And the difference between mental and spiritual, it's very simple. Mental causes 2. So man, woman, good, bad, up, down. Where spiritual is 1. So I'll give you an example. Why do I do my work? Mm-hmm. Yesterday I was driving down the road and I saw this young guy. God, just broke my heart. You know, he's standing there in the hot Phoenix sun. He's just unemployed, need money to feed the kids and all that. Now, mentally I could say, well, get a job, you idiot, you know, da-da-da. But spiritually, I am him. I feel for him. Yeah. So in my work, I work for this. You know, like, I don't need the money. Yeah. But as my teacher was Dr. R. Buckminster Fuller. And he says, I don't work for me, I work for everyone. And that was one of the biggest lessons I got from the military. You know, from the military was very high spiritual intelligence. That's why your dad and I get along so well. Because when we went into combat, which is a horrible experience of good and bad people, enemy and friends, you know. But when we climbed into our aircraft, there was a crew of 5. We became 1. It is the best feeling, as horrible as it is, flying into combat, because we might not come back. But it was the highest feeling of all. It was spiritual. And I'm afraid it's not just millennials, it's human beings, you know. Well, you know, is this good? Is this bad? Is this the best Vuitton shirt? Can I get it at a better price? Or he's cute or she's cute, you know, I mean, but is there somebody better, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly what's going on.
So you guys are stuck in your head, and I think you should get more into your spirit, you know, like saying, what can I do for my fellow human being? Yeah. What can I do for the environment? And I think the biggest secret of my success is I have all, you know, we all have these. We all have some degree of physical things we do. Yeah. Emotionally, I'm a basket case a lot of the time, you know. I get upset, I get angry, I get sad, I get my feelings hurt. And I'm always, this is good, this is bad, this is, you know, you watch politics, it's all good and bad, it's a bunch of BS. But what keeps me going is this, and it's spiritual. Yeah. Is how can I serve others? How can I serve the planet? How can I fix this problem?
Hey, Robert, what advice would you give a 20-year-old man who is starting his entrepreneurial career?
Start. I mean, study. I mean, what accumulates? You know, fat accumulates. but so does knowledge and wisdom. And so I could be sitting at a bar, instead of listening to a Rich Cooper or a Rollo, I could be sitting at a bar sucking down chicken wings and a Budweiser.
Mm-hmm.
That accumulates. Or I could be listening to YouTube and listening to you guys and listening to Gammon and listening to guys like Records. And I also listen to the Marxists. Some of these guys, they give me the creeps.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of Marxists and communists on YouTube.
Well, you have to know your enemy, right? I mean, you have to know what they're plotting. Intel.
It's called keep an open mind, you know what I mean?
Because you made it this far in a video, I want to celebrate you. Most people start and don't finish. Most people never actually follow through. Most people say they want something, but they don't ever do the work to actually get it. But you are different. You are special. Believe Nation, you made it here all the way to the end, and I love you. So as a special celebration, if you put a hashtag believe down in the comments below on this video, I will showcase you and celebrate you somewhere on the screen in a future video because you are awesome. For 10 more amazing rules from Grant Cardone, check the video right there next to me. I think you'll love it. Continue to believe, and I'll see you there.
If you got $1,000, I would just keep investing in yourself until you got another 1,000, and then invest in yourself. Now you got 2,000 invested in you. You should start making money faster. At some point, you should start every time you make an investment in yourself. If I put fuel in my car,